Jennifer Lopez is literally the meanest celebrity ever. Just because she has fame and money, she thinks she can treat people however she wants, but in reality, she's just rude and mean. Now, one of her backup singers took to TikTok to expose the star, saying, "If you were pretty or you were a Latina, like game over, she hated you. She just acted like a bully." Can you imagine spending time with someone working in a closed setting every day for months, and this person never even acknowledging you or acting like you exist? She was that rude to people working for her. Not to mention, several of JLo's former staff members have come out to say that Jennifer earned herself the nickname Pay Low because she paid her staff around 50% less than they could make elsewhere. Then there was also the incident in 2003 when Jennifer was spotted in Vegas with her then boyfriend Ben Affleck. The pair had a big win and Ben decided to drop a $2,000 tip to the dealer, but before he could scoop up the generous reward, JLo snatched up the cash and swapped it for $200 instead. Then there was also the time when she got a maid fired from her job. Jennifer was staying at the Mila Dusseldorf in Germany, and a maid working at the hotel, Prey Doja, approached the diva's room to get an autograph. Now, she spoke with JLo's assistant, who denied her to see the star. The next morning though, Prey was fired. She said, "A day later, the cleaning company that employed me at the hotel called and said Miss Lopez had complained. I was fired there right on the phone because of an autograph." Now that is just messed up. Was it maybe inappropriate for her to ask for an autograph then? Yeah, but she shouldn't have been fired for it. But JLo made sure that's exactly what happened. Now, JLo's also been accused of stealing music and certain songs. One big hit from one of her albums was If You Had My Love, but the song received backlash from R&B singer Shantae Moore, as Moore had a near identical song called If I Gave Love, recorded a year prior in 1998. Now, one of JLo's worst offenses is the fact that she takes other people's vocals and passes them off as her own, without even giving them credit. Songs like Play and the I'm Real remix feature prominent reference track vocals from Christina Milian and Ashanti. For Jennifer and Ja Rule's music video for the I'm Real remix, JLo reused Ashanti's reference track vocals on the song and passed them off as her own. Now, instead of JLo re-recording the song, she left the demo vocals on the song, and she failed to credit Milian or Ashanti. Now, the worst offender is JLo's signature song, Jenny from the Block, as Natasha Ramos sings the track's chorus, bridge, and ad-libs. Now, JLo has also been accused of lip-syncing. Now, my question is, does she even know how to sing? She's gone on and ripped off other celebrities for their talent, but it seems like she doesn't really have any. Now, in 2015, Madonna was in Manchester for her Rebel Heart tour, but fans were left unimpressed as they kept waiting for the star. Doors opened at 6:30 p.m. with Madonna expected to start her show at 9 p.m., but fans were soon tweeting about their long wait after they were reportedly told that the concert wouldn't end until 11:30 p.m. Now, Madonna was defending her lateness though when she did eventually make it to the stage, launching an angry rant after being booed. "I don't like to be late, by the way, alright? And all you blanks who keep complaining about it can shut the F up," she shouted. "I'm not back there eating chocolate, filing my nails, and getting my extensions done, alright?" She added before explaining that the delay was due to a malfunction with the video for the gig. "We had no video and we had to wait until we could reboot. No selfish diva reason. If you diva blanks want to keep complaining about it, don't come to my show," she said. Now, some concert goers reportedly walked out of the show before Madonna even took the stage, with many angry about the late finish and worrying about being able to get home from the venue. Now, besides this, Madonna has been known to push people out of her way when passing by, and she asked Peter Andre, a supporting act during her Australian tour, "Am I supposed to know you?" And Cher has gone on record to confirm Madonna was extremely rude when she was invited to Cher's home with her then husband, Sean Penn. Next is Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase has garnered a reputation for being difficult to work with, as there are countless accounts about him being disrespectful to coworkers, so it shouldn't be that shocking to hear that he's been rude to fans. Actor and comedian Rob Huebel was a longtime fan of Chevy and recounted an experience he had when meeting him for the first time. Chevy was sent to perform with Rob's theater improv group on one occasion, and Rob approached the actor for an introduction and told him about how he was such a big fan. Now, any normal person would be appreciative and thank the fan, but oh no, how did Chevy respond? Well, he slapped Rob. Yep, he tried to make a joke out of it and said, "Can't you see I'm talking to somebody, kid?" But regardless, if he was interrupted and was talking to someone, slapping someone, especially someone who adores you, is just not the move. Now let's talk about Gwyneth Paltrow. Gwyneth Paltrow has her own company called Goop, which is a wellness and lifestyle brand. In 2019, Goop had a UK wellness summit where fans paid $6,000 to meet her. Now that's just an insane amount to begin with, but with paying that much, you'd assume that you'd have a really good experience, right? Well, not for these fans. Those who attended said that Gwyneth hardly made appearances, and when she did, she was surrounded by security. One attendee said Gwyneth acts like she's a health goddess, but actually she's a pretentious, greedy extortionist. She had a ton of security, she was unapproachable, she did the minimum, a few fireside chats with Twiggy and Penelope Cruz, then she put on her Birkenstocks and snuck out. I was a huge fan of Gwyneth, now I feel like I've lost my faith in God. Those at the event that weekend were urged to book rooms through Goop at $1,300 for 2 nights at the Kimpton Fitzroy London Hotel, but some of them later discovered that rates that weekend started at $250 a night. Now, safe to say that a lot of fans felt scammed and betrayed, and I can't blame them. On to Adam Levine. As recently as February 2020, Adam Levine expressed remorse over unprofessional behavior during a concert in Chile. Fans could have called him a jerk for not giving his performance the attention it deserved when he and the rest of Maroon 5 took the stage 15 minutes late for their slotted show, but they didn't. They were happy. But then Adam called out fans for singing along to the band's songs. Yeah, he didn't want them to sing at a concert. But that's not the only criticism fans have of Adam. On Quora, one user posed the question, who are the biggest jerks in music? And the answer surprised many of Maroon 5 and Adam Levine's fans. One critic noted that early on in Maroon 5's initial days of fame, Adam made rude comments about a fan and even his current girlfriend. Adam was giving out autographs and he allegedly told a fan that he didn't give autographs to ugly chicks. Though what he said and how exactly he said it can't necessarily be confirmed, many commenters agreed that it sounded a lot like the Maroon 5 frontman's personality. Now, I've also heard firsthand that at a meet and greet, he called a woman fat. Now that is just plain rude. It makes me so angry that he thinks he can treat not only his fans, but women this way. Now we have Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber grew up in the spotlight, and although he has a lot of fans, he also has a lot of enemies. He's known for canceling meet and greets and acting erratically in public. When a few fans straight up asked him for a hug, he refused. Now he reportedly spat on fans who were beneath his hotel room, although his representative claimed that he didn't spit on anyone and that there were no fans below the balcony. Then one time when a fan tried to snap a selfie with Justin, he told her that her lack of respect made him sick. Now he also yelled at fans for talking during a 2016 concert. And more recently on December 5th, 2022, Justin and his wife Haley were seen walking to their vehicle in New York. While walking to their van, there was paparazzi and a fan there. The fan was holding a paper and pen wanting Justin's autograph and said, "Will you make me the best grandmother ever?" Now in a rude tone, Justin replied, "That's not going to happen today," and proceeded to get in the car. Safe to say, Justin isn't grateful for all the love he's received over the years from fans. Then there's Ellen DeGeneres. Ellen DeGeneres has been exposed for not being as happy and bubbly off-screen as she is on-screen. In 2021, she announced that her talk show was coming to an end after almost 2 decades on the air. News of her departure came after staff members reported a toxic work environment. Employees said they were fired after taking medical leave or bereavement days to attend family funerals. Others said they were also instructed by their direct managers not to speak to Ellen if they saw her around the office. It's also said that Ellen only appears to be bubbly and down to earth on camera, but backstage she is demanding and rude to her staff. Now, a few have even quit because of her behavior, because apparently she explodes at staffers over the tiniest things. Now, more recently, clips have been circulating from her show where she mistreated her guests, the most notably being in 2008 when Mariah Carey was on her show, and Ellen pressured her into confirming her rumored pregnancy by encouraging the singer to drink champagne. Mariah tried to politely decline the drink, drink offer and then pretended to take a sip, leading Ellen to exclaim, "You're pregnant." Now, Mariah spoke out about how uncomfortable this made her feel, as she wasn't ready to announce her pregnancy. Now, sadly, Mariah had a miscarriage, which made looking back on that memory on the show even more painful. So yeah, people don't like Ellen. Moving on to James Corden. In 2022, James Corden received a temporary ban from a New York restaurant because of the way he treated staff. The owner, Keith McNally, took to Instagram to publicly announce the ban to his 88,000 followers, saying that James Corden was the most abusive customer to my Balthazar servers since the restaurant opened 25 years ago, and going on to share two managers' reports from when Corden had visited. Now, the most recent was from October 2022, and it explained how Corden had reacted to the restaurant making a mistake with his wife's order, saying James Corden began yelling like crazy to the server, "You can't do your job, you can't do your job. Maybe I should go into the kitchen and cook the omelet myself." Honestly, James, maybe you should have, and then you'd understand what it's like to work in a fast-paced, high-end restaurant. Next up is Chrissy Teigen. Chrissy Teigen was arguably most famous to those in the Twitter sphere for her honest, witty observations and jokes, often leveled at the widely criticized political figures. Now, she's gained a multi-million following over the last few years. One of the people who Chrissy had leveled her tweets at years before revealed the dark side to the star's online habits. Courtney Stodden said they first met the model when they were 16 years old, after marrying coach Doug Hutchinson, who was 34 years their senior. Courtney was considered the butt of the joke among others, and Teigen directed her barbs straight at the reality star. In May 2021, Teigen made a statement about the controversy. "Not a lot of people are lucky enough to be held accountable for their past BS in front of the entire world. I'm mortified and sad at who I used to be. I was an insecure, attention-seeking troll. I'm ashamed and completely embarrassed at my behavior, but that's nothing compared to how I made Courtney feel," she wrote on Twitter. But hey, at least she was able to admit to it, but what she did was terrible. Then there's Jon Hamm. Kathy Griffin has been quite outspoken about her encounters with rude celebrities and isn't shy about calling them out. In her book, Kathy Griffin's Celebrity Run-Ins, My A to Z Index, she explained that Jon Hamm is one of the rudest people she's ever met. "You'll never convince me to like Jon Hamm," she wrote. "The vibe I've always gotten from him is cold and somewhat disrespectful towards me. I'm suggesting he's one of those hot guys who's mildly funny, but actually thinks he's comedian level funny." Now, she recounted a time where he showed up at a dinner party and said, "Hammy showed up, he even said to me, 'What are you doing here?' I said, 'What are you doing here?' And later on, when she was talking to fellow actor Jack Nicholson, an intoxicated John reportedly started whispering in her ear. First it was, 'You know your Emmy isn't a real Emmy,' and then he whispered, 'You're so old.' Now, that's just strange behavior all around." And finally, we have Christian Bale. Christian Bale has a bad temper. An audio recording leaked in 2009 of Christian having an outburst towards cinematographer Shane Hurlburt on the set of Terminator Salvation. Now, in the audio, he is heard yelling at Shane, who supposedly distracted the actor during a scene, as it appears that he walked in on the shot. Christian became enraged, hitting Shane with F-bombs, as well as threatening to smash his lighting equipment. During a part of the clip, he says, "You are trashing my scene, you do it one effing time, and I ain't walking on this set if you're still hired." Then Christian's former assistant came out with a book and said that Christian is often awful when fans approach him. He'd reportedly lecture little girls about being rude and intrusive until tears streamed down their faces and their parents tugged them away from our table.
At number 10, Rihanna. Rihanna might seem like a nice, happy-go-lucky person who's always going hard for her fans, but it turns out that she actually has a little bit of a dark side. I guess you could say that she's savage, like Savage X Fenty. No? Alright. It seems like on a few occasions, she's been quite mean to her fans. She's no stranger to shoving a phone out of her face when approached by a fan, and she's been known to yell at paparazzi and fans when they get a little too close for comfort. On some more unpleasant occasions, she's been filmed smacking a fan on the head with a microphone. During one of her concerts in England in 2013, the singer whacked a fan with her mic because they had reached their hand out to her. Look at that. And in another savage incident, Rihanna mocked a 16-year-old fan online for having recreated one of her red carpet looks for prom, where she called her out on Twitter and made fun of her look, calling it expectation versus reality, and posting a side-by-side comparison. Not the nicest person in the industry, that's for sure. At number 9, Ezra Miller. This one was a little shocking, but it turns out that Ezra Miller might not be as nice of a guy as we think. You may have seen in the intro a video of Ezra Miller choking and slamming a woman to the ground. This video, when it first hit the internet, was thought to have been a joke, but it really wasn't. This happened during an altercation at a bar in Iceland when a group of fans approached the actor and things got out of hand. Bystanders of the incident described the group as being very pushy, and it seemed like this was what triggered Ezra's violent reaction. Things escalated and he lost his temper, leading to the physical altercation. Some say that alcohol may have contributed to the incident, but the bottom line is that Ezra's outburst was not cute, and it really surprised a lot of fans. Just before I continue on with the video, I'd like to ask you guys to maybe consider leaving a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far. We love getting your positive feedback, and your likes really help us out too, so please go ahead and show us some love by smashing that like button. At number 8, Jennifer Lopez. This probably doesn't come as a shock to many, but it turns out that J-Lo isn't a very nice person. Some say that she's a real diva, and others say that she's just rude. Apparently, the singer/actress is very picky about who may or may not speak to her, and for those permitted to address her, they're not allowed to make eye contact with her. There are even reports that she sometimes flat out refuses to comply with scripts. This has happened on a few occasions, most notably during a filming for a Fiat commercial where they needed to hire a double for Jennifer simply because she just didn't want to do certain things for the shoot. She doesn't have a good reputation with a lot of people she's worked with either. She is said to have completely ignored the people who were remodeling her house. She's gotten a cleaning lady fired for having asked for an autograph, and she even refuses to talk to in-flight staff and pilots on flights, and instructs her assistant to talk to them for her. And even though her staff do so much for her, including communicating for her, they don't get paid very much for their time. J-Lo just gives off bad vibes, so I think maybe it's best to steer clear of her whenever possible. At number 7, Tobey Maguire. Tobey Maguire might look like the fun and lovable Peter Parker on screen, but unfortunately that's far from who he really is. Turns out that Tobey is really just a Hollywood jerk, and fame really just drove him to being that way. He started off as a pretty humble guy, but after the Spider-Man films brought him so much fame and success, it consumed him. Towards the end of his Spider-Man days, Tobey had something of an attitude problem, where we saw him harassing people at a poker game, even going so far as to tell a woman to bark like a seal for $1,000. He also racked up a hefty production cost for the third Sam Raimi Spider-Man film because he needed doctors on site at all times to deal with his bad back, and he was only able to walk a certain amount of steps in a scene before needing to quit. Those who worked with him often called his attitude inappropriate, and he's really just been badmouthed by a lot of people he's worked with over the years, so he really doesn't seem like that much of a nice guy. At number 6, Ellen DeGeneres. I think this one's a little obvious because it's Ellen. We've done a lot of videos on Ellen. Ellen has been exposed as one of the meanest people in Hollywood. Even though she was all about kindness and spreading good vibes on her show, it seems like Ellen's angel persona on TV was quite the opposite in real life. Many staff members, as well as other people who've been on the show with her and have worked with her in the past, have started coming forward to talk about Ellen's mean streak in Hollywood. It turns out that there are some workplace horrors afoot over on the Ellen show set, with people claiming that you're not allowed to look Ellen in the eye, and those who approach her are often spoken to rudely or even face racial biases. Also, there seems to be some kind of drama with the toilets on set. I guess people's butts are very prestigious or something. There have been reports of Ellen getting people in trouble for having chipped nail polish, for giving away fan mail, and apparently there's a rumor that Ellen picks one member of staff to be mean to every day. Lovely person, isn't she? Halfway through at number 5, Christian Bale. Christian Bale's temper is really something to behold. I really wanted to include a clip of one of his outbursts, but there was so much swearing that no one has time to bleep all of that. After his outbursts on set, from crew members upsetting him to fans getting him riled up, Hollywood has begun to paint the actor as someone with serious anger issues. In one instance, according to Christian's former assistant, he once wanted to kill a fan. Fans seem to really upset the actor on multiple occasions, so apparently once Christian received a fan letter at home, he said that the fan should be eliminated. He described wanting to thrust a screwdriver through the fan's eye and into their brain to the part that prevents screaming. I'll let that one sit there for a second. On another occasion, Christian went on a 4-minute swear word ridden tirade where he really chewed out a crew member from the set of Terminator Salvation. That one I have no quotes for, because if I repeated any of those words, this video would be flagged, and just trust me when I say Christian Bale is one mean SOB. At number 4, Lea Michele. Lea Michele is another celebrity who's been exposed for her mean streak this year. Following a Twitter exposure from former Glee co-star Samantha Ware, Lea has now been described as, quote, callous, rude, mean, and even a diva. But Samantha's exposure of the Broadway star isn't the only testimony that has come forward recounting her mean streak. There have been stories of Lea's microaggressions, but also stories of her spitting in craft service food, refusing to work with people because they didn't know her middle name, requesting reshoots because she didn't like her costume, disrespecting other castmates, and having crew members apologize on her behalf, and just so many other frustrating tidbits that just really show how rude and entitled she's known to be. At number 3, Amber Heard. I couldn't make this mean celebrity list without including Amber. That's like watching a Marvel movie and leaving before the end credits. You just don't do that. I'm sure that we all know who Amber Heard is by now, and if not, where have you been? Amber and Johnny have been the media's it story this past year, and we've learned so much. If you've seen my recent video where I gave you the top 10 worst Amber Heard moments, then it's no surprise to you that she is a horrible person, but if not, let me recap some of her highlights. She's gotten into a fight with her sister, she's been recorded confessing to hitting Johnny Depp, she's pretended to have been a victim of a violent crime, she's smuggled her dogs into Australia, pretended not to have known about the laws there, and tried to get her assistant to commit perjury. She's responsible for Johnny's severed finger, and she's supposedly planted stories in the media to deliberately shift the focus from Johnny to her. Because of all of these things that have come out about the actress, there's just so many people from around the world who just really hate her. There have been petitions to have her removed from certain movies, and she's lost a lot of respect from fans and some Hollywood people as well. So yeah, she definitely belongs on this list. At number 2, Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal seems to be this super great guy who's given back to his community, donated to all these charities, and has done a lot of work to benefit a lot of people. I mean, the guy has a whole foundation in his name, so this one might be a little controversial, but this was news to me, so I thought I'd share it with the class. There was an incident in 2014 when Shaq mocked the appearance of a man named Jamal Binion. Jamal suffers from a rare genetic condition which has resulted in some facial deformities. It seems like Shaq saw a picture of him online and recreated the image himself, posing his face to look like that of Jamal. Well, he didn't think it was very funny, and even though Shaq apologized, it wasn't enough, and so he issued a lawsuit against the basketball star, as well as 2 other people who mocked his condition for $25,000 in damages. The lawsuit claimed that the image was shared to nearly 10 million people around the world, so this public mocking was grounds for seeking damages. Shaq may not be a mean guy all of the time, but this instance sure did open a lot of people's eyes to the NBA star's actions. And finally at number 1, Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey isn't the nicest person ever. She's had run-ins with the paparazzi which have not gone over well, she's had some bad relationships with others, and she's known to be something of a diva. But this takes the cake. There was a lawsuit from one of Mariah's former assistants which claimed that the singer peed on her, ridiculed her body, and then called her some pretty rude names. Her former assistant said that she was hired by the singer to be on call 24/7 and assisted both Mariah and her manager. Though she was paid a salary of $250,000 a year, this wage just couldn't cover up the alleged abuse sustained by Mariah. But her case wasn't the only one up against the singer at the time. While this case was being disputed, Mariah had just settled one with her former manager which cited breach of contract, harassment, and unpaid wages. It seems like though she pays her people well, she doesn't treat them as well as she should.
Number 10, Tom Cruise. While Tom may be an action movie star and was once a young Hollywood heartthrob, he's had a massive temper since day one. According to both former assistants as well as several co-stars from his past, Tom Cruise is a regular toddler and is known to throw tantrums being set off by the smallest thing. His former manager, Eileen Berlin, presented Tom with a gift on his 19th birthday. She gave him an album of teen magazine articles written about him, and apparently that set him off because he told his manager he considered himself an adult, not a teen idol, and he threw that book right back in her face. Another example of Tom's aggression was on display during the filming of his recent Top Gun sequel, Maverick. During that time, time, Tom and the rest of the film crew were tasked to shoot on an actual aircraft carrier still in use by the US military. One of the crew of that ship posted on Twitter calling out the audacity of Tom's behavior. He tweeted that Tom Cruise was really on his ship telling people not to talk or even look at him. After a few choice words, the crewmate made it very clear that Tom was never going to be welcome aboard their vessel again. The most recent and public outburst came on set of his last Mission Impossible movie when audio footage was leaked of a confrontation between Tom and two crew members who had apparently not been following the rules on set that were in place at the time. Tom may still be making movies, with that Mission Impossible movie set to release in the next few weeks, but it's looking more and more like Dead Reckoning Part 2 will be his reckoning. No, that's not it. I suck at this. Number 9, Sandra Bullock. If you didn't know about this one already, you may see Sandra a little bit differently after this. Sandra Bullock has been starring in blockbuster flicks since the 1990s, maintaining a steady career starring in everything from comedies to Oscar-worthy dramas. In 2012, however, she let a bit of her temper slip when she went ballistic on a fan for simply asking if he could take a picture with her. I know what you're thinking. Nate, that's a very valid reaction to being asked by a stranger to take a photo. Well, let me ask you something. What if that stranger was a wheelchair-bound veteran? According to the person who was acting as her assistant at the time, a fan and veteran of the United States Army approached Sandra for a simple autograph and to say hello. But Sandra flipped at the man. She covered her face and yelled at him to leave her alone. Needless to say, the internet did not like that at all and bashed Sandra in any format possible. Now when you Google her name instead of a poster for Gravity, it's just that Uncle Sam Army poster that says, "We want you, Sandra Bullock, for the United States Army." Number 8, Jonah Hill. Unfortunately, it would appear that the once funny man turned Oscar nominee is secretly a jerk. Recently, a news article broke thanks to his ex-girlfriend Sarah Bradley, showing evidence that Jonah was emotionally damaging towards her during their relationship. The couple first got together in 2021, meeting on the beach as she was a surf instructor. According to a series of texts between Sarah and Jonah, it's obvious that he is mentally manipulative. He tells Sarah to remove any photos of herself surfing from Instagram that showed her bum bum in thongs. Now, when she did that, he told her that it was a good start, but she didn't seem to get his point. He then told her, "It's not my place to teach you. I've made my boundaries clear. You refused to let go of some of them, and you made that clear, and I hope you are very happy." It's just stupid. He said stupid things. Another screenshot, Jonah showcased his plans and simple conditions for maintaining their relationship, including stating that he didn't want Sarah surfing with men. You know, like doing her job. He wrote a massive list of boundaries and rules that were clearly him trying to control everything that Sarah did, said, and wore. At one point literally saying that she can't post pictures of herself in a bathing suit. Like what she's supposed to wear to the beach? A suit and tie? Well, that would look pretty fancy to be honest. Not only is this proof that Jonah is a bad guy, but it may be the first step towards his official cancellation. Sorry to anybody hoping for that 23 Jump Street movie that we've been waiting on. I know, I'm disappointed. Number 7, Mariah Carey. Mariah Carey may echo in your skull around the holiday seasons, but according to most, you should really keep that space in your head reserved for another Christmas time songstress. Bublé, anyone? Mariah has been known to be a bit of a diva over the years, apparently making outlandish requests and taking part in some truly strange moments. For instance, when giving birth to her children, Mariah had the doctors play a live version of her song Fantasy, so that her voice was the first thing that they heard in this world. Unfortunately, the playlist was on shuffle and they were instead born to Bird is the Word. I'm just kidding, that didn't happen, but that would have scarred them for life. She's walked out of presidential events because she wasn't the center of attention. She makes people speak to her via a whiteboard the night before a performance to preserve her voice, and literally makes someone roll out a physical red carpet for her as she walks out of vehicles at events. Like that lady from Guardians of the Galaxy. It's literally someone's job all day just to be like, Needless to say, she is currently classified a diva, but needs to be classified as cancelled. All I want for Christmas is a new song for me to love, for the love of God. Number 6, Chris Pratt. He's Burt Macklin. FBI. Chris Pratt has had a massively successful career since first starring as the lovable Andy Dwyer on the hit mockumentary series Parks and Recreation. Since then, he starred in blockbuster giants like the Jurassic Park trilogy, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and he is even now the voice of Mario. This dude's unstoppable. Hopefully that's not true though. You see, Chris was almost a part of the infamous Me Too movement, but he somehow escaped our radar. In 2013, Chris was involved with an organization called the Hillsong Church. This mega church is is known for being notoriously anti-LGBTQ+, and at one point the church's former leader, Brian Houston, even went public with the church's beliefs, and as you can imagine, he was torn to shreds, verbally speaking. God, I wish it was physical. While it was only ever rumored that Chris was involved with the controversial group, it was confirmed by his ex-wife and fellow actor Anna Faris that he certainly wasn't against their beliefs. She claimed that Chris didn't deny specifically being involved with the church until 2022 because he didn't want to throw a church under the bus. Hey Chris, they might have done some pretty shady stuff, so toss them under that bus like you're trying to skip a rock across the ocean. Number 5. Rihanna. She called us rude boys and told us to come here. Can you get it up? That's a bit personal, Rihanna. I can. According to some of her fans, Rihanna may seem vibrant on stage, but is closer to a Disney villain behind the scenes. A few years ago, a fan had won free tickets and backstage passes from a radio concert to go see Rihanna live. And when it came time for the fan and her kids to meet Rihanna, she was sitting at her makeup booth and refused to face them. When the young fans asked if they could get her autograph, she instructed a nearby backup dancer to forge her signature before shooing them away like an actual villain. Somebody get this lady a coat made of Dalmatian fur. In 2016, she further added fuel to the fire when she shared a photo of a young fan wearing a dress inspired by Rihanna's Wile E. Coyote themed costume that she had worn at an awards show a few years prior. She wrote "Dark Thought Rises" with the hashtag #PromBad. Now, I think this was meant to be a nice thing. The word thought is gross, but many people consider it as a compliment. Unfortunately, the internet turned this into a meme and ruined one fan's prom night, sullying what could have been an incredible memory. Why not post a picture of yourself in the dress with the fan? Or just don't call someone a thought on their prom night on the internet. Just don't do that. Maybe, just don't. Number 4. Alec Baldwin. The star of films like Glengarry Glen Ross and Cat in the Hat. Sorry, I get flashbacks when I talk about that. Alec has been in a number of successful projects, but recently was under fire after the accidental slaying of a crew member. He may be happy-go-lucky on set, but in reality, Alec is the meanest of the bunch. In 2007, Alec directed his hot temper at his daughter, Ireland, who he had with his ex-wife, Kim Basinger, in a now famous voicemail that would reveal the usual mild-mannered, soft-spoken man was secretly an angry man trapped inside a little man's body. TMZ obtained the audio of the message to Ireland in which Alex screams, "You are a rude, thoughtless little pig. You don't have the brains or decency to be a human being. I don't care if you're a child or that your mother is a thoughtless pain in the butt." The message combined with the perception that he may have been verbally chastising his daughter, claiming that he was going to straighten her out, led a family judge to bar Alec from seeing his child. While the family later reconciled in 2012, his daughter has said in recent interviews that the voicemail was never perceived by her as intense, as she was just used to that kind of verbal outburst from her father. To anybody watching this right now who thinks that screaming and breaking things is a normal reaction when you're upset, it's not. Please call someone or get help because, hey, it's not okay to act like that, especially towards your own flesh and blood. So seriously, if that's happening to you or somebody you know, there should be a link attached to this video, so please follow it. Number 3. Jared Leto. Jared Leto is an interesting fella. He started his own religious group, he brings a new meaning to the word method acting, and let's face it, this guy sucks. Over the past few years, reports from Jared's fellow actors are anything but positive. During his time as the Joker, he left his fellow castmates used adult devices, pig heads, and live steaks in their trailers as so-called gifts. He was trying to stay method as the Joker, but anyone on the receiving end of that gift wishes that he would just chill out already. On top of that, he's been known to stay in character, meaning that if he's playing somebody angry or silent, that's how he's gonna be the entire time. This guy hasn't really been questioned for his actions at any point in recent history. We only ever call him a weirdo and leave it at that. The reality is Jared is stuck so far up his own behind that he just doesn't get how mean he actually is. Snubbing his fellow actors and selfishly bringing chaos to the set is so mean. With his career still well on the rise, here's hoping that Jared will eventually be called out for good and added to Hollywood's list of cancelled nutcases. Number 2. Will Ferrell. Will is actually not a bad guy at all. He's just one of those many celebrities that are extroverted on screen, but in real life they're shy, awkward, and sometimes that can be seen as rude. According to Autograph magazine, Will is the worst when it comes to signing anything. 9 times out of 10, he mocks people, taunts, and embarrasses them for even thinking that he would sign something for them. It appears that his awkwardly mean persona follows him on set too. A Reddit user shared a story of spotting Will Ferrell filming a movie near their home. After watching Will for a bit, he spent most of his time in between takes berating staff members. And while he may try to poke at people in a fun way, nothing is fun about an A-list celebrity walking up to you and telling you that you suck at your job. In fact, that sounds like the most stressful thing anyone in that position could go through. While there are a lot of stories showcasing Will's good experiences, the bad unfortunately outweigh them all, and he's known by fans across the world as a bit of a jerky turkey. And at number 1, Ezra Miller. Ezra Miller has been on the acting scene since 2008, first appearing in films such as After School and Perks of Being a Wallflower. They seemed like a normal functioning member of society until 2019, when cast and crew started noticing odd behaviors from the actor. Their attitude on set shifted from happy to be here to I'm better than you, deal with it. They would often wear capes or robes to set that were never actually a part of their wardrobe, and they reportedly were filled with scattered thoughts and motivations both on and off screen. In 2020, a video surfaced of Miller in a violent altercation outside of a bar in Iceland, which would be the first of many videos showcasing the actor's misdeeds, eventually leading to Miller breaking and entering into someone's house in Hawaii of all places. I guess they were just a little bit of Chilean, couldn't find a blanket. Miller then went on to run from Hawaiian authorities for a little over a week, supposedly squatting in abandoned buildings and sleeping on the beach. They were eventually caught and charged with breaking and entering, as well as aggravated swatting, as Miller had apparently gotten into a fist fight before breaking into the house. Two birds, one stone, I guess, right? Their behavior on set branded them as odd at first, but that combined with the now several public arrests has landed them on the thinnest ice possible, only having their solo flick The Flash be released due to it actually being a good movie. Too bad for Ezra though, this is probably going to be their last movie. Fingers crossed.
10. Jussie Smollett. In January of 2019, famous actor Jussie Smollett walked into a Chicago police precinct and reported that he had just been the victim of a hate crime. He told the police that two strangers began shouting racial slurs. While one was just yelling at him, the other was pouring chemical bleach onto him before they both held him down and tied a rope to his neck. He claimed to have suffered severe rope burn and was physically ill from the experience. But as we all know now, this isn't exactly what happened. These so-called strangers were actually two brothers who worked with Jussie on the set of the hit series Empire, and according to inside sources, Jussie paid the brothers $3,500 each to help him stage the event, planning every single detail right down to the precinct visit. The proof that all of this was a rouse made up for publicity was the fact that the altercation conveniently took place directly in front of security cameras. An investigation took place that found ample evidence that Smollett had set himself up. They found receipts for the ropes used during the altercation left in the assailant's home and a way to hide the evidence. There was also security footage taken from a store where the brothers can be seen trying on and purchasing ski masks, gloves, and red hats. I would pay anything to see that footage. It would be so funny now. At the end of the day, Jussie was forced to serve 150 days in prison and pay the Chicago Police Department over $300,000 for wasting their time and resources. So before you all get mad about how I pronounce his name, I just want to remind you he faked a hate crime. Focus on that. 9. Kim Kardashian. The reality star can be tight-lipped about the cosmetic procedures she's undergone and has repeatedly denied plastic surgery rumors, but on a forthcoming episode of The Kardashians, she seems to make a surprising confession. In a peek at season 3 shared by her sister Khloe Kardashian on Snapchat, Kim is seen taking voice lessons. While talking to her vocal coach, the Skims founder admitted she couldn't use her neck muscles to sing because half of hers were probably Botoxed. Kim admitted to having a little bit of Botox in a 2012 Allure interview, but claims she's had no filler. She stated, "I've never filled my lips." While this may be true, back in 2010, Kardashian suffered facial bruises after getting Botox before she turned 30, an experience that was documented on Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Kim claims that the surgeon warned her of all the possible side effects, as they should, but because it was the first time receiving the procedure, she flipped out in front of the cameras. Since then, Kim has steered clear of any more Botox-related procedures, claiming she felt a constant burning sensation conversation for days afterwards, being some of the most painful moments of her life. 8. Ariana Grande. Now it should be no surprise to learn that Ariana Grande is not 100% a clean, clear cover girl. The Sam and Cat star and world famous musician dropped some truth during her Vogue Beauty Secrets tutorial last week. Grande shared with the world that she has had a ton of Botox and lip fillers over the years, but that she was ready to go back to the way she was. For a long time she was getting regular injections and surgeries, but according to Ariana herself, she stopped seeking those treatments in 2018. Claimed that she felt like she was hiding herself from the world and was tired of being hidden behind a fake layer of herself. She went on to say that the decision to stop was also motivated by her wishing to see her natural features again, like her smile lines. Now she said she may get a facelift 10 years or so down the road, but compared to the invasiveness of Botox, that should be a chill Tuesday for Ariana. 7. Kanye West. In 2009, Kanye interrupted Swift during MTV's Music Video Awards as she was in the middle of an acceptance speech for Best Female Music Video. While the altercation didn't take place on camera over the next few months, the feud had become public, with Swift bashing Kanye's rude behavior during time specifically set aside for her. Kanye later apologized and things seemed to be fine until 2015, when the rapper released a song called Famous, in which he had some pretty harsh stuff in reference to Miss Swift. Taylor was very vocal about her dislike for the song and claimed that it was written to undermine her success. Kanye's then wife Kim Kardashian called Taylor out online, claiming that Taylor had approved her lyrics over the phone. Kim uploaded a Snapchat video that alleged Taylor did in fact say that Kanye can do whatever he wanted. The video included clips of Taylor that fans pointed out were edited to take her words out of context. In retaliation to this situation, many fans have claimed that several songs from her 2017 album Reputation were made in reference to Kimye, including the line, "This is why we can't have nice things." In 2020, a full version of the video Kim posted was released, proving that she did in fact edit the footage to make it seem like Taylor was on their team. In reality, Taylor never approved jack squat. Who would have guessed that Kim Kardashian and Kanye West were big liars? 6. Belle Gibson. Belle Gibson was a famous Australian influencer who was diagnosed with a brain tumor when she was 20 years old. According to Belle, she ditched the traditional chemotherapy route and instead decided to undergo alternative treatments like oxygen therapy that somehow worked, or so her thousands of followers thought. In 2013, Belle used her story to launch a health and wellness app called The Whole Pantry. She made a public vow to donate 1/3 of her profits to charity, was able to secure a cookbook contract with acclaimed publishing company Penguin, and Apple pre-installed her iPhone app on all Apple Watches. Kinda like when U2's new album just suddenly opened on your iTunes, like, I don't remember buying this. What the heck did I do last night? Not long after her rise to fame though, she claimed that the cancer had re-emerged basically everywhere and lamented about the short time she had left with her family. But as it usually does, the truth set her free. According to media outlet Who, the app's proceeds never made it to the charity, and former friends of the blogger voiced their suspicions to the point that 2 journalists from the Sydney Morning Herald took on the case, like detectives in a movie from the 30s, like, "Don't worry sweetheart, we'll solve the case." After a fairly minimal amount of sleuth work, Gibson was forced to reveal that she had in fact faked her diagnosis for media coverage. The aftermath involved a civil suit being launched against Belle by Consumer Affairs Victoria, and a judge ruled that she may be suffering from psychological or psychiatric delusions at the time, but was in fact found guilty of misleading and deceptive conduct. That's a thing you can sue people for? I gotta make some phone calls. 5. Kylie Jenner. For years and years and years, Kylie, along with everyone else in her family, has denied the involvement of cosmetic surgery on camera. Throughout the history of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, there have been an immeasurable number of clips that will go down in the history books. Seriously, somebody should give this lady an Oscar. After a long time of not telling the truth, the internet called her bluff. Now, I've been told we can't talk about the challenge that happened a few years ago because people were actually getting hurt attempting attempting to recreate Kylie's perfect plump lips with little no juice glasses, a painful lesson that Kylie did not intend to teach. Well, Kylie decided to let the cat out of the bag and inform her fans that she did in fact receive fillers to achieve her look. She then urged people to stop doing the challenge as it could not only leave permanent damage, but it also just made her look bad. Revealing the truth is one thing, revealing the truth because you might be in trouble, a whole other story. 4. Lori Loughlin. Who could forget the college scandal from 2019? Oh wait, you did? Well, allow me to refresh your memory. In 2019, a massive conspiracy was proven to be true when several A-list celebrities were exposed for bribing schools and their admissions to allow their kids into school. The situation had been going on for almost 10 years before justice was served. Lori, along with several celebrities like Felicity Huffman, were exposed to the media and a very public trial began. For years, these people were claiming that their kids were the best and the brightest and that they could do no wrong, when in reality, they were just scrolling on their phones waiting for mommy to drop a check off at Harvard. Over 40 individuals were eventually charged and brought to justice. High-level academic and athletic schools like Stanford University, Yale, and the University of Texas. It was revealed specifically how much the schools were making, while in Lori's case, anyone who agreed to admit their two daughters would receive $500,000 in one lump sum. Several students were either expelled or removed from the admissions list as a way to save face. For Lori, well, she went to prison for a few days and was made to do 250 hours of community service. Lesson learned. 3. Steven Rannazzisi. You may recognize Steve from his role as Kevin MacArthur in the hit FX series The League, or perhaps from his many stand-up and television specials. What you may not know is that Steve's a big old liar. Steve first moved to the west coast of the United States only 1 month following the events in New York in September 2001. When he first tried to break into the comedy scene, he claims that he found it difficult to fit in with his fellow comics and would indulge in stories to get a word in conversationally. Essentially, when he introduced himself and told people he was from New York, at the time the events were fresh and everyone was curious, were you there when it happened? Much like a lot of comedians, he started telling them sarcastically that he did in fact escape one of the towers before they fell, but before he could say, nah, just kidding, that never happened, the conversation had moved on and he was now seen as a survivor. Needless to say, his story made its way through the scene and his career seemed to be on a rise. It was only a few short years later that he would be a main cast member on The League and would go on to write and star in several TV shows and films. In 2009, Steve told Mark Maron his tall tale, even adding details like, yeah, I worked on the 59th floor, second tower. Man, it was tough getting out of that one. I actually broke a few bones in my hand and took weeks to heal. Not long after the public exchange, the New York Times did a little detective work and discovered that he had actually worked in Midtown Manhattan at the time, nowhere near the incident. He's apologized for the lies and realizes now that people probably would have liked him just fine without the lies. Whoa, lying to make people like you is wrong? Blows my mind. 2. Lance Armstrong. 7-time Tour de France winner Lance Armstrong has gone down in history as a man who was unable to ride a bike without chemical training wheels. In an interview with Oprah Winfrey in 2013, Lance was brought on to discuss the allegations floating around regarding his status as a Tour de France winner. Several sources claim that Lance had to take performance-enhancing substances to win each race, as well as a type of transfusion involving the red life juice that live inside all of us. Armstrong went on air and fessed up to every single thing they were claiming he had done. However, he did deny the notion that he was some kind of mastermind who would control his teammates and force them to join in his extracurricular activities. But amidst his admission of guilt, say that 10 times fast, there was a moment where he tried to pin the situation on his battle with cancer. He wraps it up by saying he should have tried harder to cancel the culture rather than create more of a problem. He was stripped of all 7 Tour de France titles and has since lived in exile among the cycling world. 1. Milli Vanilli. Taking the top spot on our list is the infamous musical duo Milli Vanilli. In 1989, the duo of Fab Morvan and Rob Pilatus were on the top of the world. A fairly unknown crew had quickly raised to number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 list. They began performing their hit song in front of thousands of fans across the world and they were hooked. Until very shortly into their rise to fame, they were performing performing in front of 80,000 people at a theme park in Bristol, Connecticut. They took the stage with their well-known dance moves and started singing, but when the chorus came, it stayed, repeating over and over again on a loop. The track they had been lip-syncing to was trash, and the truth was revealed. Not only did they not sing a single note of their hit song, Girl You Know It's True, but the song itself was actually stolen from another group a few years prior. Milli Vanilli were a disgrace, and what was worse is that only a few days before, they were exposed to the world that they had won an award for the tune and were forced to return them.
Number 10. Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan is known for a lot of things in this world, okay? Her public meltdown, her ability to get estranged parents back together, and of course, her penchant for the partying lifestyle. As you can imagine, it's not easy being someone that works at one of these events, especially considering that they work for a woman that would regularly wake up late in the day and hung over a railing. Only she wasn't on a railing. Unfortunately, many people know that dealing with someone who wakes up late in the day after a long night of no-no juice-induced good times is a difficult person to deal with. Recently, some of Lohan's staff members have confided that she often wakes up at noon at the earliest. Naturally, she's always in a terrible mood and is extremely short with her staff. They claim that Lindsay would regularly take her frustrations out on her staff members simply because they were there and they were easy targets. They said that it should be a law if you deal with someone like Lindsay that an automatic bonus should be thrust into your bank account. Imagine if the lead of Herbie Fully Loaded started yelling at you at 12 in the afternoon. Beep beep, I quit. Number 9. Rihanna. Is it really a shock to learn that Rihanna does not talk to the hired help? Ignoring somebody is one of the meanest things that you can do to a person, making them feel like they do not exist or are not on the same level as you, and they do not deserve to be acknowledged. Most celebrities know not to do this, but others seem to only have a negative setting in their soul. Over the years, it's been said that pop singing sensation Rihanna doesn't even look or speak to her staff. An anonymous source revealed that Rihanna literally refers to the staff as hired help. She also falls asleep when she is getting her makeup done, which must be so great for everybody in the room. Rihanna just snoring in a chair and someone running around being like, it's okay, she's just warming her voice up, guys, it's fine. Rihanna is also known for being pretty rude to her fans as well. One lady won backstage passes for herself and her family, and when they went back to do the meet and greet portion of their tickets, Rihanna didn't even face them and actually asked one of her assistants to come and sign something for them, sitting in her makeup chair like a Disney villain shooing people away. Number 8. George Clooney. George Clooney is the epitome of class, okay? Just watch his Nespresso commercial with Danny DeVito. These two were meant to be together. He is known to be very charming, especially when meeting fans or appearing at red carpet events. But it turns out that George Clooney is not exactly the easiest man to work for. Apparently, George is a little bit stingy and is extremely paranoid that people will take advantage of him, meaning that he is very untrusting of his staff. According to disgraced former employees who left in shame, Clooney's staff are not allowed to go anywhere near the no-no juice chamber, or cabinet as most people call it. George is reportedly nervous that someone will try to steal a sip of some of his more expensive options. The staff allege that George would mark his bottles after each use so that he could actually see where the liquid was the last time that he had himself a glass. After each and every use, this man was just whipping out a marker and just notching away and just remarking and remarking. Hey, paranoia is one thing, but that is next level, okay? Just get a little bottle lock or something more complicated. I feel like there are some easy ways to get around that if you really dedicated your time to it. I'm not gonna do that, but someone might. Number 7, Beyonce. Beyonce has 3 simple rules if you work for her on tour. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. And in other words, don't look at Beyonce, don't talk to Beyonce, don't even listen to Beyonce. Maybe not that last one, but you get my point. Beyonce is a massive star now, but even 10 years back, she was considered to be a major diva that felt that she was above everybody else. While she was on tour in 2013, all local staff were advised not to look or speak or approach Beyonce. They were explicitly told that if she was walking down a hall towards them, to find an unlocked room and get in there as soon as possible, out of sight, out of mind. On top of that, everything backstage had to be draped in linen, which then had to be smoothed out after she would walk on it. Now, if that's how rude she was in 2013, imagine what she must be like now. She probably has someone fanning her in a chair between sets, while another person feeds her grapes and does her taxes. Luxury. That is luxury. Number 6, Zooey Deschanel. New girl Zooey Deschanel is known in Hollywood as a lovable, dorky little lady. She's so pure and innocent, and she dated Jim Carrey and Yes Man for some reason. Such a good movie, I'm not gonna bash on it. But it's not just Hollywood that knows Zooey as a lovable dork, her fans do too. There is no way that she would have a mean bone in her body, right? Well, it turns out that Deschanel is actually very rude and reportedly very demanding. While working on the set of the sitcom New Girl, several former staff members claimed that Zooey was constantly making up her own rules on the set and on the show. Being the main character allowed her to voice her ideas, and more often than not, the showrunners would just make it work. One of those rules that she made up was that at the end of each episode, that it had to be her and another character. She's gotta be the last face you see before watching Big Bang Theory again. It's a great show, and if you hate it, you're just trying to be cool. Overall, she is not even close to the worst person on this list, but we gotta include her because she did make a PA quit out of frustration. But they're not considered people, so who cares? I was a PA, I'm allowed to make that joke. Number 5, Kate Gosselin. Kate, who you may know from her reality show Kate Plus 8, is reportedly very mean to the people she employs. In fact, they would go so far as to say that she is a terrible boss. Oh, I'm sorry for my language. A former nanny who worked for Gosselin revealed that Kate made her babysitter's life a living nightmare. Gosselin got famous for being a mother of 8. My mom comes from a family of 9, but you don't see a TV show for the Newfoundlanders. Now that would be good TV. Despite Kate coming from such a large family and having to take care of so many kids at once, she writes guidelines for the people that work for her. According to several of her former employees, most of Gosselin's nannies quit almost immediately after being hired. Some of the demands that Kate had included in the rule books were things like washing her expensive cutlery by hand and never placing them on the kitchen table. You had to just... The rule book also said that the staff would be meant to walk lightly, something that was to be taught to the kids as well. Now, I couldn't figure out what the term walk lightly means, but I'm imagining it means teaching the kids to walk like cat burglars from like a 60s cartoon, but that feels wrong for some reason. Number 4, Victoria Beckham. Victoria is talented in many ways, mainly known for being Posh Spice from the Spice Girls. Despite her larger-than-life persona on stage, offstage she is much more serious and straightforward. Her work ethic is very simple. Work and work hard. This method is taught to each and every one of her staff members. A former nanny revealed that Victoria was actually quite rude when it came to being a boss, going on to say that she expected all of her nannies to respond to the name Joe even if their name wasn't Joe. The logic that some are suggesting is that maybe the Beckhams just didn't want their kids to be confused by the multiple nannies and names. They just needed to stick to one to refer to their staff, right? But at the same time, forcing your nannies to respond to a name that's not remotely similar to their own is very rude and annoying. Number 3, Naomi Campbell. Naomi is no stranger to a fiery tantrum or two. According to many people close to her, she has a short temper and some serious anger issues, so as you can imagine, being on her staff is nothing to celebrate about. Her history of mistreating staff is long and legendary. There were so many choices I could have put in this list. In 2000, Campbell was sued by her assistant Georgina Galanis. Apparently, Campbell whacked Georgina with a telephone in a hotel room and then told her she was going to throw her out of a moving car. She pleaded guilty to the charges, admitting that she lashed out in a fit of rage. In 2004, she supposedly headbutted an assistant, bit her lip, and yanked her to the floor, screaming, "F you, you worthless snitch!" Except she didn't say snitch. This woman cannot keep her hands to herself. She transforms into a UFC fighter every time she gets upset. In 2006, Campbell allegedly went after her housekeeper with a cell phone and just flung it right at her. In the past couple of years, more and more stories of former employees have been released, with the general consensus being that this lady is a menace and needs to take a chill pill. Number 2, Madonna. Madonna's voice is known around the world, but so is the fact that she can be a little bit mean from time to time. Not only have there been eyewitness accounts of her being rude to fans, but she's also a bit stingy when it comes to her staff. A few years back, an anonymous source revealed that when one of Madonna's dancers broke her arm during practice, that instead of being concerned and helping, Madonna had a full-blown meltdown, berating the dancer for being so bad at their job. There were also allegations that she said there shall be no fat country singers in her presence. Only she didn't say re-singers. Another source backed these stories up and added added that Madonna does not pay very well, but she knows that she can pay people less to work for her for grueling hours because, hey, she's Madonna. There are probably some people out there who would work for a turkey sandwich just to be someone's assistant. White bread with lettuce, please. The source agreed that if there is one common theme with Madonna and her staff, it is that her ego overshadows them and they are supposed to feel lucky to be in her presence. Neither of the sources specified when they quit, but considering the stories, it sounded like they were with Madonna for quite some time. And at number 1, Courtney Love. Singer, actor, and wage thief Courtney Love has a bad habit of not paying her employees. According to some former assistants, she promises big things and fails to deliver on them constantly. In 2010, Love hired Jessica Labrie as her assistant. Courtney allegedly promised her lots of cool things, including bonuses, promotions, a scholarship to Yale, a job on the set of Nirvana's biopic, heck, even a job at Courtney's very own management company. Well, sign me up, man. That's a no-brainer. Only, if something sounds too good to be true, it almost always is. Of course, Jessica agreed to work for Courtney, but Love failed to deliver on any of her promises. There was no job on the Nirvana set, there was no scholarship to Yale, sometimes there wasn't even a paycheck. Labrie eventually sued Courtney for lost wages. Sure, she was mad that she didn't get any of the cool things that she was promised, but her main issue was the $2,000 that she was not paid. During the court proceedings, Jessica revealed that while working for Courtney, she was asked to hire a computer hacker to fake legal correspondence. What shady things did she want to cover up? Number 10. Lizzo. It was revealed a little while back that a lawsuit has been filed against the famous pop singer Lizzo, accusing her of creating a toxic work environment and mistreating her background dancers. The accusations range from fat shaming her crew to forcing them to eat strange fruit from strange places. One of the dancers, Crystal Davies, who is part of the lawsuit, was fired for secretly recording a meeting between herself and Lizzo. The meeting was about the dancer's performance on stage recently and her apparent dislike of the weight that she'd been gaining, claiming that she wasn't committing to her role. According to the plaintiffs, Lizzo made them work ridiculous hours, including up to 12-hour rehearsal days. One of the dancers recounted an experience of having to use the washroom and was forced to do it in her pants while rehearsing so she didn't lose any time. Like, hey Lizzo, if someone asks to use the bathroom, let him go. It took longer for them to get the poor woman a change of clothes than it would have to let her take a 5. When the news broke, the world collectively turned on Lizzo and believed every single word that these women are saying, and so far it seems like that's valid. While Lizzo continues to deny the allegations, her career just gets worse and worse. Several of her live stage shows have been canceled, her music's been pulled from radio stations, and there's an investigation taking place, which is never a good thing. Number 9. Christian Bale. Rumors that the former Batman actor is mean to his co-stars and crew have run rampant for years, ever since his infamous voice recording captured on the set of Terminator Judgment Day. For those who don't know, he shouted at a guy for being in his line of sight during a take. Real professional. However, a former publicist of Christian's named Harrison Chung shared a ton of behind-the-scenes stories, including the fact that Christian was in fact a really mean person, to the point where he literally made little kids cry when they would approach him as fans. Instead of appreciating his reach and enjoying his time with the fans, he reportedly responded to them with anger and lectures about personal space. Chung claimed that working for Christian was a nightmare, so much so that he had to take years of therapy. There have been a few stories regarding Christian and his anger over the years, but making kids cry and forcing the person making him look good to take therapy just means that there's something wrong with this guy. Number 8. Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga is known for a lot of things. A Star Is Born, her music career, but for an ex-assistant named Jennifer O'Neill, Lady Gaga is just simply known as evil. O'Neill filed a lawsuit against her former boss in 2013 for $400 grand, the money that she claimed she was owed for her time working as Gaga's assistant. Clapping back against the claims, Gaga got heated. Say that 10 times fast. She counterclaimed that she was forced to do most of the assistant's work herself, complaining that she had to carry her own bags to her room all by herself like a normal person. O'Neill worked with Gaga for 13 months on a $75,000 salary and accompanied her on her Monster Ball World Tour. In trying to justify her actions as a boss, she admitted to partying late at night, sleeping in all day, and literally screaming in the streets. During the court hearing for the case, she also launched into an F-word fueled tirade, swearing over and over again at Jennifer. Gaga was basically blasting this woman with allegations and just kind of denying everything that she was saying. Gaga claimed that Jennifer was always made to be an equal on tour, where Jennifer claims to have been overwhelmed with her workload. Instead of paying O'Neal the damages, Gaga claimed that she was going to spread the wealth to the people that currently worked for her, aka the ones who really deserve it. Eventually they were able to settle the situation outside of court, but the exact dollar exchange is unknown. Number 7. Bill Murray. Bill has always been outed as a menace on set. He yelled at Lucy Liu on the set of Charlie's Angels, but that's not even close to when it started. He got fired from that set, but that's part of another video. Another altercation came off camera on a completely different film. In 1991, Bill was filming What About Bob, a comedy flick of course, but the set was anything but. He reportedly got into an argument with a producer on the film named Laura Ziskin that resulted in him literally throwing her in a lake. Now at the time she called the incident playful, but the rest of the production time was also filled with similar outbursts. Bill would regularly snap on set especially, and directed a lot of his attention at Laura. She recounted a time when Bill said that he was going to throw her across the parking lot before breaking her sunglasses and throwing them across the parking lot. But it wasn't just Laura that was scolded on set. One day when Bill asked her for a day off and she said no, he flipped in front of the entire crew. He ripped off her glasses and threw them on the ground. Bill's co-star Richard Dreyfuss confronted him about his behavior, and Bill responded by launching an ashtray at him like he was Captain America or something. Everyone on set walked off and flew home to Los Angeles. The film only resumed production when Disney agreed to hire a bodyguard to physically keep these two separate in between takes. Number 6. Kylie Jenner. Kylie Jenner is the youngest of the Kardashian clan and is extremely successful for her age. In 2019, she made the cover of Forbes magazine as the youngest self-made billionaire ever, following the successful partnership between her cosmetic brand and Ulta, a beauty salon company, which would allow the brand previously only available online and in random pop-ups to actually be on shelves in Ulta's 1,000 stores, which is unfortunate considering where those products actually come from. A lot of employees at the factories that mixed and packaged her makeup and beauty products reported that they were never given proper safety equipment, and you kinda need that to do that job. They were only given like hairnets, lab coats, safety goggles, which meant that their hands and faces were completely exposed. Workers would regularly report migraines, mild chemical burns on their hands, and if that isn't bad enough, they were also forced to act as human test subjects for Kylie's new products. Needless to say, a lot of people quit their jobs very quickly. Kylie was very proud of her company not testing products on animals, but can we all agree that using people is just way worse? Number 5. Mariah Carey. Mariah may get stuck in your head between the months of November and January, but in 2019, all Maria Burgess wanted for Christmas was her wages. Maria sued Mariah, alleging that she worked for Mariah between 2017 and 2018, but did not receive any pay and had to deal with tremendous stress. In the lawsuit, she alleged that Carey would not allow her to take breaks, and she did not specify the hours she had to work, but the lawsuit implied that she basically worked around the clock 24/7. She claims that she was finally forced to leave Mariah after she complained about her working environment, to which Mariah responded with, "I don't care." The suit was apparently settled outside of court, and knowing Mariah Carey, she probably just forked over the cash, no questions asked. She's Mariah Carey. Number 4. Miley Cyrus. Ever since her Disney days, Miley Cyrus has slowly been descending into this weird space between a sweet person and a terrible person, mostly terrible. While she is known to be a little bit cold towards her fans, her staff has had it even worse. An anonymous source revealed to Radar Online that Miley had 2 dogs who were not house trained. Apparently, Miley just never bothered to train them herself, so every time they would relieve themselves inside, she would just yell at her staff for not picking it up immediately. Not only had she made her own employees cry and quit, but apparently this was something that she did to a ton of employees around the world, reportedly causing mayhem in a New York City hotel after inviting several of her friends over for a good time. According to the hotel staff, she acted like a toddler when they asked her to chill out, literally telling them that they should be grateful that she was even there. Number 3. Kourtney Kardashian. While Kim Kardashian may not be the best boss in the world, Kourtney Kardashian is known as the absolute worst boss of all time. According to former nannies, Kourtney was by far the absolute worst Kardashian to work for. Not only is she a neat freak, needing every single thing to be exactly where it should be, but she is also known for being surprisingly cheap, even once calling a grocery store while she was shopping to compare the price of a chicken breast. Because if anyone needs that extra 99 cents, it's her. But this isn't the worst thing that she's done. At one time, Courtney's daughter had bitten a nanny so hard that she had to quit, but instead of letting it go and taking responsibility for not teaching her daughter how to act properly, she berated the nanny, telling her that she should have said something to her daughter in the moment. Because yes, blame the woman that you're paying to raise your kids instead of the kid itself. That makes so much sense. Number 2, Kim Kardashian. How can I do this list without talking about Kim, right? Kim Kardashian is arguably the most famous of her Kardashian sisters, and it would seem she's also the busiest. For example, she has 4 kids, skincare line, her Skims brand, she's attending law school, co-founded an equity team, and she recently even hopped on the podcast train, in addition to filming her new reality TV show on Hulu. Yeah, you may be asking yourself, how does one woman do all that by herself? Well, because she pays people to do stuff for her, of course. She has multiple assistants and nannies to help her stay above the overwhelming workload, but has been known to treat them as lesser than her. For example, on several occasions, Kim and her daughter North would go to lunch accompanied by the nanny, but Kim made her not only sit at a separate table away from them at the restaurant, but she's also known to make the nannies walk like 10 feet away from her at all times, unless she has multiple people with her at once, and then she likes to make them like a walking V formation because it looks cool. If they walk near her or attempt to like walk side by side, she blows up on them behind closed doors. Needless to say, she's had many nannies over the years and's probably made them all cry at least once in a closet. Number 1, Ellen. Ellen DeGeneres had one of the most successful daytime talk shows right up until 2020. Her show became overwhelmed with accusations of a toxic work environment from former employees. They were claiming that Ellen's happy exterior was nothing more than this facade she was putting in place to keep her audience happy. Fans began questioning awkward moments on her show, and eventually the cracks in her appearance grew bigger and bigger. And there was just way too much information being leaked for any of this to be fake, so Ellen was eventually forced to cancel her show and subsequently herself. She denied every single accusation until the day she was done, but here we are, Ellen free in 2023.